you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to share this first poem with you. It's called Feminist Father. My father was the first feminist I ever knew. Brother to 3 sisters, nephew to 6 aunts, father to 3 daughters. He handed out machai when my sisters and I were born. A revolutionary move in the late 80s, when people in their 80s would only celebrate the birth of a boy. So my birth in 93, a revolt in the system. My parents were bracing us for a world that wouldn't see us, so had to make sure we were looked at home. Never a praise or a telling off, just a steadied gaze, where the expression was clear on their face. They were raising us in a world that wouldn't listen to us, so had to make sure that we were heard at home. The dining table was where we voiced our opinion, one of many. A rectangular table where discussions never went round in circles, only in lines, trails of thoughts, plans of actions, responsibilities and duties for the people we were going to become. Slowly were becoming, mostly without realizing. So if that much was unconscious, what did we consciously decide? Some traditional paths, some modern ones, they intertwine. An Indian immigrant parent's dream, a doctor, an accountant, a teacher, a lawyer, but with our own twist. So my dad kept an open mind. My sister became a doctor of psychology. My other sister played the numbers game, and I went off the beaten track and studied creative writing. He advocated for as much as he understood, taught us the politics, social issues, and economics of the world before it taught us. It was an education. The first school is at home. So we learnt the professional and interpersonal in stillness so that one day we could move. Thank you. This next poem is a dedication to Singer sewing machines. Slow start. Set fabric under sewing machine, a steady revolution. My mother talked through threads, woven whistling, stitches that serenaded suits and saris, recite with repetition, listen to the linen, the way the silk shouts, hear the homespun home truths from the button mouth, the drawn curtains clap, performing patterns, lullabies to the night sky, a draped duet. This is an anthem for every time we were dressed up to the nines. A Singer sewing machine does more than just sing. For South Asian women, it was more than a hymn sheet. Textiles taught tapestries that were a framework on how to use material, upholstering a community through garments, quilts of connection. It's all embroidery. Nothing can be left unstitched. Thank you. This next one's called Grandmother's Gold. My grandmother's gold was not a flaunt of wealth, but a sign of survival. Those valia in her ears were a reminder of all of the things that she heard and stayed silent. My grandmother's gold was not drip. It was an expression of my grandfather's love. My grandmother's chain was not like a rapper's. It wasn't a way of identifying her, although she was pretty gangster. My grandmother's bangles weren't to accessorize. They were the release of the handcuffs of poverty. My grandmother's rings were the rings they ran around her, in her circle. So why do people wear jewelry? My grandmother never wore a watch because time was something that she had plenty of, and she chose to spend it with us. Thank you. This next poem is about being Punjabi. Punjabis are Punjabis in the best and worst ways possible. We are hardworking, existing on a hearty diet, which makes us both open-hearted and private people. We love a laugh, nothing like a hassa. Born to the sounds of Bhangra, we are the most conducive and generous people you'll ever meet. It's the difference between showing and showing off, a subtle line that's easily crossed. Being bilingual gives me access to both cultures, insights and nuances that would otherwise be lost. It's having random uncles and aunties calling you pod, a term of endearment to a stranger, and yet with one word you're pulled in close, to be one of them. Sometimes we speak in Punjabi, but mostly it's being proud of hearing the next generation conversing. It's being a credit to your parents and your grandparents. Punjabi mothers are built different. Renowned for their guest is God hospitality, making varieties and quantities of food seem unfathomable, even if you took part in the process. There's always leftovers. The robotics of making roti means they never skipped arm day. The aggression is taken out on a rolling pin, and believe me, that's a good thing. Or it's taken out on the speed of chopping. No board, just hands, freestyling over a saucepan, while asking you obvious questions like, is that you? Then answering her own questions, then complain you don't listen. So much faith in God, no doubt about it. Fear of God in you before you even know it. Can't fear the Father if he was at home. The fear of superstition was always lost on me, so I always challenged it. More likely to challenge it, because God got me. Jisko Rabb rakhe. Thank you. This next piece, as we're in West London, I'll be sharing a piece on Bend It Like Beckham. Bend It Like Beckham could have been a biography, but instead of playing football, I write poetry. We all want to be a star, to have our talent recognized. It requires quick thinking. Poetry was the missing piece of the jigsaw. I wasn't part of the Southall Sari squad. I remember my first open mic. There was a proper stage with proper lights. I stood in front of the mic. I was taught to chase books instead of boys, so I didn't want my talent to go to waste. But I knew I was playing with my future. And it was just like Mr. Kipling, exceedingly good. So I became conductor of this real gaddi. You either got on board, no arguments, or stay and watch the train go past. Because Giovanni is a precious thing. First you have it all, then you slowly start to lose it all. I didn't ask to write poetry. Guru Nanak Dev Ji must have blessed me. Thank you. Staying on the theme of football, this next piece is called It's Not Coming Home. I come from an England where football is a religion. Until 3 black men miss penalties, then we are atheist. Mark us for the way that Rush affords to feed the nation when the government can't. I guess free school meals is more expensive than you think. That's some food for thought. We've been starving for success since 1966. We had the appetite for glory, but not the digestion. It's not coming home. We don't know where home is. The last place you would want to be displaced is on a football pitch with the world watching. The 3 lions with 3 lions on their shirt, more than 30 years of hurt, but the jewels don't gleam as much. Dreaming stopped when reality kicked in. Racism is offside. The flag went up but never came down. They weren't strikers, but they were striking a chord to music that they didn't have the notes to play. Nerves can do that. How can you score a goal when the goalpost keeps moving? The only thing that was saved was goals, too much to throw in, but hate doesn't win. Rashford, Sancho and Saka played ball, but they couldn't picture seeing this. dribbling on the pitch but spitting on the image, that's taking shots. The crowd, the audience, the public watching, but they had no guard. Not even Southgate could protect them. So they're tackling all of this, trying to stay in formation, but it seems racists need information. Ignorance may be bliss, but it's difficult to deal with. How do you manage that when the laws don't govern that? Harry Kane could miss a penalty and wouldn't suffer the same abuse as a substitute. They were kitted out, but not equipped to deal with this. VAR could check this and it wouldn't miss. It was nearly complete. It was nearly so sweet. 17, 25, 11. Thank you. This next one's called Racial Stamina. We are taught to build our racial stamina, to increase our tolerance in a world that claims it has zero tolerance. Someone's superiority makes others seem fragile. We get angry. We don't want to stay silent, but we don't want to cause an argument. So we withdraw from situations we decide that we no longer want to be a part of. Racism is a structure, not an event. It's not a dent in someone's armor. Sometimes emotions are too easily spent. We vent, see the extent of the situation, the intent behind it, how people present themselves, to see whether they can prevent it from happening again. But some people don't relent, continue to resent, argue their defense even if it offends, then either pretend it never happened or do anything to protect their reputation. Some reflect, regret what they said or did, hoping that that will get them some respect, but it's not always available on request. People can be selective. Collectively, that's why it causes so much upset. Thank you. Lifted veil. The world isn't getting worse or darker. The veil sheltering you from reality is lifting. This idea of the world you were building in your head, you realized it needs fixing. Too many innocent killings threatens everyone living. Justice is missing. Picking up violence, pitting people against each other, it's heart-ripping. So now is not the time for sitting when freedom has been slipping for so long. The media is twisting what has been written. Not all are admitting to the crimes committed. Keep persisting, keep resisting, keep existing. Thank you. Hope stands. We've seen the struggle, felt the weight of it all, a system built to break, fighting for a future where freedom isn't just a choice, but a right to rejoice. The truth's been hidden, covered in a cloud of lies, but it's rising. From the ground up, something new is building, where dignity is restored, where justice shines through. There's nothing when fighting, just a people united, standing side by side in the fight for justice. It can't be denied. The ones left behind are stronger than ever. Erasing doesn't break pride. Hope stands with nowhere to hide. The streets and the skies all have a place. It's not invisible. Yes, there is injustice, but a strength of a people can't be contained. They built walls thinking that they would fall, but the spirit of a people comes from the heart. Pain finds strength and will. The world can try, but we're standing still. We demand a future where no one's oppressed, where love and peace are the ultimate test. So march, shout, for justice, for truth. In this fight for justice, every word is a sword. The struggle is never over. It's the realest it's ever been. Fires burn brightest through the darkest of nights. Peace can never, will be denied. Thank you. This is a poem dedicated to refugees. We watch nations turn their backs, blind to the plea. hiding from the pain. Everyone says it doesn't concern me. Lines in the sand drawn by the ones in power, while refugees search for shelter hour by hour. Hands stretched out, all they want is a chance. But the world says no with its cold, empty glance. So they keep running from the fire to the flood, from war-torn streets to the dust and the mud. They don't want a handout, just a place to stand. A new life, a future in a faraway land. The world's got 1 million voices, but they speak in silence. 100 million refugees left to wander in defiance. We watch them drown, but headlines fade fast. Policies change like the tides on the shore, but the pain they endure is never ignored. Where's the compassion? Where's the aid? Where's the promises? Politicians, they argue, they debate, and they stall, but at the border, it's just a brick wall. We talk about the cost, the burden, the strain, but at what point do we stop and feel the pain? A child's cry doesn't come with a price tag, so how many more lives get dragged? A fight isn't a battle of one, it's a war we all lose till we stand as one. So what's the legacy we leave behind? Will we close our eyes or open our minds? Thank you. This last piece is a tribute to Benjamin Zephaniah. It's called Rebel with a Rhyme. From Handsworth streets where the voices collide, one of 7, a rebel with truth as his guide. He had a mind to ignite, in the rhythm of words he found his flight. Dyslexic, they said, but he saw through the haze, a prophet, a poet with his typewriter's blaze. His pen had a beat that would make you stand still, a voice for the voiceless with power and will. Too black, too strong, but still he faced the fight, an intellectual warrior, a cultural light. Bob Marley in the background, Mandela in the front, speaking truth to the world on every single front. Anger in his heart, but compassion in his soul, the people's laureate, making all of us whole. Anti-racist, advocated for activism, revolutionary fire, a Windrush child aiming higher and higher. His mind a weapon, his rhymes a sword, cutting through empire, breaking every chord. In every line, in every beat, his legacy lives on, a revolutionary mind, a voice that belongs. Through the anger, through the strife, he crafted a revolution, one verse at a time for life. The only Benjamin we acknowledge is Zephaniah. You might turn to Franklin for science and philosophy, but Zephaniah was the founding father of Birmingham. Preaching poetry, spoken word sermons, his life a testament, a man on a mission, city psalms, Rasta time in Palestine, repent with rhymes. He was talking turkeys before being vegan was cool. We listened to his lyrics. I might be preaching to the choir, so I'll say this louder for the people at the back. God says he doesn't deal with small heath, and that's the gospel truth. Thank you very much. My name is Charnjit Gill. You can follow me on Instagram at cgillpoetry. I have copies of my poetry collection available at the stall outside, and I'll be performing the same set in the lecture centre at 3:30. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Take care.